Chapter 1. The invisible currency of human civilization. Before money existed, before companies existed, before governments existed, before people built cities and created civilizations, there was something even more fundamental, something invisible, something every human being depended on: trust. A human being cannot survive alone. From the earliest moments of human history, our survival depended on cooperation. A hunter depended on others to protect the group. A parent depended on the community to help raise children. A tribe depended on every member to contribute. But cooperation created a difficult problem. How do you know who you can trust? How do you know who will keep their word? How do you know who will stand with you when danger arrives? The answer became one of humanity's oldest inventions: reputation. A person's reputation became a record of their behavior. Long before humans created written contracts, banks, courts, and legal systems, communities relied on memory. People remembered. They remembered who shared food. They remembered who protected others. They remembered who lied. They remembered who betrayed the group. A person's past actions became evidence of their future behavior. This was the beginning of reputation. It was not created because humans wanted popularity. It was created because humans needed survival. Imagine a small ancient community. A group of people depends on one another for hunting, protection, and survival. One person repeatedly refuses to help others. Another person always keeps promises and supports the group. Over time, the community develops a judgment. One person becomes trusted, the other becomes avoided. No official system created this decision. No government recorded it. The reputation of each person was built through repeated behavior. The group learned. A person's actions create a story, and that story influences how others respond. This principle has remained unchanged throughout human history. Only the environment has changed. Today, instead of a small village, we have companies, institutions, countries, online communities, global networks. But the fundamental question remains the same. Can this person be trusted? Can this organization be trusted? Can this leader be trusted? Can this brand be trusted? The scale has changed. The human need has not. Modern society has created systems to measure trust. Banks use credit scores. Employers use references. Companies use reviews. Investors study leadership records. Universities examine academic history. These systems are modern versions of something ancient. They are attempts to answer one question: what evidence do we have about this person's reliability? Because nobody can see another person's intentions. We cannot enter someone's mind and examine their character. So we observe patterns, we look at behavior, we look at history, we look at reputation. This is why reputation has become one of the most valuable invisible assets in human society. A person with a strong reputation carries something that cannot be easily purchased: trust. Trust creates opportunities. A trusted person receives responsibility. A trusted employee receives greater opportunities. A trusted leader receives followers. A trusted business receives customers. A trusted friend receives loyalty. The value of reputation comes from the doors it opens. But reputation is not created by one dramatic moment. It is created through thousands of small decisions. A person becomes known as reliable because they repeatedly show reliability. A person becomes known as honest because they repeatedly choose honesty. A person becomes respected because they repeatedly demonstrate qualities worthy of respect. Reputation is not built through what you claim about yourself. It is built through what others repeatedly experience from you. This is why many people misunderstand reputation. They think reputation is about image. They think it is about appearing successful. They think it is about controlling what people say. But a strong reputation is not created through appearance alone, because eventually reality tests every image. A person can pretend for a while. A company can advertise for a while. A leader can create a public image for a while. But time reveals patterns, and patterns reveal character. History is filled with examples of people who understood the value of reputation. Leaders protected their honor because they knew their name influenced their power. Merchants protected their honesty because their business depended on trust. Families protected their name because reputation affected future generations. A person's name represented more than themselves. It represented what people expected from them. This is why losing reputation has always been considered a serious form of loss. A person can lose money and recover. A company can lose resources and rebuild. A leader can lose a position and return. But when trust disappears, recovery becomes much harder, because the problem is no longer what you have. The problem becomes what people believe about you. The ancient world understood something that modern society sometimes forgets. Your name is an asset. Your reputation is a form of wealth, not wealth measured in currency, wealth measured in trust, because money can buy attention, but only reputation creates confidence. Money can create temporary influence, but reputation creates lasting credibility. However, reputation also contains a dangerous paradox. The same thing that makes it powerful also makes it fragile. It takes years to build because trust requires repeated evidence. But it can be damaged quickly because trust depends on confidence. One serious action can force people to question everything that came before. One moment can change the story attached to a name. This is why reputation has fascinated philosophers, leaders, and thinkers throughout history. They understood that the battle for reputation is not only a battle for popularity, it is a battle for influence, a battle for opportunity, a battle for legacy. The question every person eventually faces is not, what do people know about me? The deeper question is, what does my name represent? Because every day, through every decision, every promise, and every action, we are answering that question. We are writing a reputation, we are creating a story, and whether we realize it or not, the world is keeping a record. Because in the end, reputation is the invisible currency that allows human civilization to function. Without trust, cooperation disappears. Without cooperation, societies collapse. And without reputation, trust has no foundation. Chapter 2, Character versus Reputation. Who you are versus who people believe you are. Every human being lives with two identities. The person they know themselves to be, and the person the world believes them to be. These two identities often overlap, but sometimes they are completely different. One exists inside. The other exists outside. One is built through private choices. The other is created through public perception. The first is called character. The second is called reputation. And understanding the difference between them is one of the most important lessons in understanding human beings. Character is who you are when nobody is watching. It is revealed in moments where there is no reward, no applause, no recognition, no audience. It is the decision to tell the truth when lying would be easier. It is the decision to keep a promise when breaking it would benefit you. It is the decision to act with integrity when nobody would discover your actions. Character exists in silence. It is built away from the spotlight. Reputation, however, exists in the minds of other people. It is the image created by your actions, your words, and the experiences people have with you. Reputation answers the question, what do people believe about this person? A person may believe they are honest, but if their actions repeatedly show dishonesty, society will create a different reputation. A person may believe they are generous, but if their behavior repeatedly shows selfishness, people will form another conclusion. Reputation is not created by intention, it is created by evidence. The ancient philosopher Aristotle understood this principle thousands of years ago. He argued that character is not created by a single action. It is created through habit. A person does not become courageous because they perform one brave act. They become courageous because courage becomes part of who they are. A person does not become honest because they tell the truth once. They become honest because honesty becomes their pattern. Character is the result of repeated choices. This idea reveals something important. Your reputation is the visible shadow of your character. The world cannot see your thoughts. It cannot see your intentions. It cannot see the battles happening inside your mind. It can only observe your actions. And from those actions, people create conclusions about who you are. But here we encounter one of the greatest challenges of human life. The difference between reality and appearance. A person can appear successful while being deeply unhappy. A person can appear powerful while being insecure. A person can appear moral while hiding corruption. A person can appear confident while fighting private battles. The outside image and the inner reality do not always match. This is where the ideas of Carl Jung become important. Jung introduced the concept of the persona. The persona is the mask that people present to society. It is the version of ourselves we show the world. Everyone has a persona. A teacher has a professional persona. A leader has a public persona. A parent has a family persona. An entertainer has a stage persona. The persona itself is not a problem. Society requires people to play different roles. The danger begins when the mask becomes more important than the person behind it. A person can become trapped by their own reputation. A successful person may feel forced to always appear successful. A leader may feel unable to admit weakness. A celebrity may feel unable to show imperfection. The world begins demanding the image they created, and eventually, maintaining the image can become more important than maintaining the character. This is one of the great dangers of modern society. We live in a world where appearance can be carefully designed. Social media allows people to display selected moments. Companies create powerful brands. Public figures create carefully managed identities. But every image eventually faces the test of reality, because reputation built only on appearance is fragile. The moment reality contradicts the image, trust begins to disappear. Robert Greene, in his study of power and human behavior, explains that reputation is one of the foundations of influence. A strong reputation creates advantages. People trust your decisions. They listen to your words. They give you opportunities. But Greene also highlights a danger. A reputation that is not supported by reality eventually collapses, because people may be influenced by an image temporarily, but they cannot be deceived forever. History repeatedly shows this pattern. Some individuals built great public images that eventually collapsed when hidden realities became known. Others were misunderstood during their lifetime but later recognized because their character was stronger than public opinion. This teaches us something important. Reputation is powerful, but reputation is not always truth. Viktor Frankl provides another perspective. After experiencing unimaginable suffering during the Holocaust, Frankl understood that external identity can be taken away. A person can lose possessions, status, position, recognition. But something deeper remains, the inner self, the ability to choose one's response. Frankl's message reminds us a person's ultimate value cannot depend only on external approval, because reputation can change, public opinion can change, circumstances can change, but character remains the foundation. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As one of the most powerful people in the Roman Empire, he had access to wealth, authority, and recognition. Yet his writings repeatedly emphasized a simple idea: control what is within your power. You can control your actions, your choices, your values. You cannot completely control what others think, what others say, how history judges you. This creates an important balance. A wise person does not ignore reputation. Reputation matters. It affects relationships, opportunities, and influence. But a wise person also does not become a slave to reputation, because chasing approval can lead people away from their true values. The ultimate goal is not to create a perfect image. The goal is alignment, when character and reputation become the same thing. When the person you are privately matches the person people experience publicly. This creates something rare: authenticity. People trust those whose words and actions agree. They trust those who remain consistent in different situations. They trust those who do not need a mask. At the end of life, the greatest question is not, did everyone admire me? Because even great people were criticized. The deeper question is, did my actions represent the person I wanted to become? Because reputation is what people remember, but character is what creates that memory. A reputation without character is temporary, but character over time creates a reputation that can survive generations. Every person is building both. Every decision strengthens one and weakens the other. The question is, are you building an image, or are you building a life worthy of the image? Chapter 3: The Psychology of Judgment. Why humans remember your worst moments. Human beings like to believe that we judge the world through logic. We believe we carefully examine facts. We believe we consider all evidence equally, but the human mind does not work like a perfect machine. We are emotional. We are influenced by stories. We rely on memories. We make quick judgments using limited information. And this has a profound effect on reputation, because reputation exists inside the human mind. To understand reputation, we must understand how humans judge. Throughout history, survival depended on making quick decisions. Ancient humans lived in environments filled with uncertainty. They had to quickly answer questions like, is this person trustworthy? Is this stranger dangerous? Can this individual be accepted into the group? A person who ignored danger could suffer serious consequences. A person who was too cautious might miss opportunities. Over thousands of years, the human brain developed systems designed to protect us. One of these systems is our sensitivity to negative information. Psychologists call this negativity bias. It is the tendency for negative events to influence our thinking more strongly than positive events. A person can receive hundreds of compliments, but one harsh criticism may stay in their mind for years. A company can provide excellent service for decades, but one major scandal can change how customers view it. A leader can achieve many successes, but one failure can redefine their entire image. Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, studied how humans make decisions. His research showed that people often use mental shortcuts. Instead of carefully analyzing every piece of information, the brain creates quick judgments. These shortcuts help us survive, but they can also create mistakes. Imagine two companies. Company A has operated successfully for 50 years. Millions of customers are satisfied. Then one serious failure occurs. Company B is new and has no history, but it has a perfect marketing campaign. Many people may trust Company B more because the human mind often responds strongly to recent information. The latest story can overpower the longer history. This is why reputation is so fragile. Trust is built slowly because the brain requires repeated evidence. People need time to believe. This person is reliable. This company is honest. This leader can be trusted. But when something threatens that belief, the brain reacts quickly. Because uncertainty creates danger. This explains why scandals receive so much attention. A scandal creates surprise, fear, anger, curiosity. Positive behavior often feels normal. A company delivering quality products every day rarely becomes breaking news. A company failing customers becomes a global story. Good behavior maintains trust. Bad behavior attracts attention. Another psychological force affecting reputation is the halo effect. The halo effect occurs when one positive quality influences how we see everything else about a person. For example, a brilliant athlete may be viewed as disciplined in every area of life. A successful entrepreneur may be assumed to be wise and ethical. A talented artist may be viewed as admirable beyond their talent. Humans naturally create complete stories from limited information. But the opposite can also happen. A negative event can create what is sometimes called the reverse halo effect. Once people develop a negative impression, they may reinterpret everything negatively. Past achievements may be questioned. Previous successes may be viewed differently. The same facts can appear different depending on the reputation attached to them. This is why public perception is so powerful. A reputation does not only influence what people think about your present, it influences how they interpret your past. A person who was once seen as successful may later be viewed differently after a crisis. A company once admired may have its entire history examined after failure. The story changes. And once the story changes, the meaning of events changes with it. Another psychological force is confirmation bias. Humans naturally search for information that supports what they already believe. If someone admires a person, they may ignore negative information. If someone dislikes a person, they may focus only on failures. Two people can witness the same event and reach completely different conclusions because they are not only processing information, they are interpreting information through existing beliefs. This explains why reputation battles become so emotional. People are not only debating facts, they are defending identities. A supporter of a person may feel that criticism of that person is criticism of their own judgment. An opponent may feel that criticism confirms what they already believed. The disagreement becomes deeper than the original event. Modern technology has amplified these psychological tendencies. In the past, reputation spread slowly. A person's reputation was shaped mostly by family, community, workplace. Today, a person's reputation can be affected by millions of strangers. A single video, a single post, a single accusation, a single moment can travel across the world. Social media has created a new reality. Attention is rewarded, and strong emotions create attention. Anger spreads faster than calm discussion. Controversy spreads faster than ordinary success. This means reputation can be affected not only by actions, but also by how information travels. But there is another important question. Why do people sometimes enjoy watching powerful individuals fall? Psychologists describe a phenomenon called schadenfreude. It refers to the satisfaction some people experience from another person's misfortune. Why does this happen? Sometimes people believe powerful individuals escaped consequences. Sometimes people feel that success created arrogance. Sometimes people simply enjoy seeing someone powerful brought back to ordinary status. However, this creates a danger. A society driven only by outrage can lose fairness. Accountability is necessary. Wrong action should have consequences, but judgment without careful thinking can create injustice. A mature society must balance the desire for justice with the search for truth. This is why reputation is such a complex force. It is not created only by what happens. It is created by what happens, how people interpret it, how information spreads, and how human psychology responds. The deepest lesson is this: people do not always remember the complete story. They remember the story that becomes strongest in their minds. And because humans are emotional creatures, that story can sometimes change faster than reality itself. A person's reputation is therefore not only a reflection of actions, it is also a reflection of human perception. Understanding this helps us understand why great people fall, companies collapse, leaders lose influence, and ordinary individuals can be judged by moments they never expected. Because in the battle for reputation, the question is not only what did you do? The question is also, how will people remember what you did? Chapter 4: Reputation and Power. Why leaders protect their names throughout human history. One truth has remained constant. Power does not come only from what a person controls. It also comes from what people believe about that person. A ruler may have an army. A leader may have authority, a company may have resources, but without reputation, power becomes fragile. Because power depends on people, and people respond not only to reality, they respond to perception. A person with a position has authority, but a person with reputation has influence. These two things may look similar, but they are not the same. Authority comes from a title. Reputation comes from trust. A president has authority because they hold office. A respected leader has influence because people believe in them. A CEO has authority because they run an organization. A respected CEO has influence because people trust their judgment. History shows that the strongest leaders understood this difference. They knew that reputation was not merely about looking good. It was a strategic asset. It shaped how enemies viewed them. It shaped how followers responded to them. It shaped whether people believed their decisions. Robert Greene, in his study of power and human behavior, emphasizes that reputation is one of the most important foundations of influence. Before people know you personally, they often know your reputation. They have already formed expectations. A person known for discipline is treated differently from a person known for carelessness. A person known for courage is treated differently from a person known for fear. A person known for integrity is treated differently from a person known for dishonesty. Your reputation enters the room before you do. This principle was understood by ancient military leaders. Sun Tzu, the author of The Art of War, understood that warfare was not only about physical strength, it was also about psychology. The perception of strength could influence decisions before a battle even began. A commander known for victory created confidence among followers and uncertainty among enemies. Sometimes the reputation of power prevented conflict before conflict started. One of history's greatest examples is Alexander the Great. Alexander did not only conquer territories, he built a reputation. His soldiers believed they were following an extraordinary commander. They believed victory was possible because their leader had already demonstrated courage and ability. His reputation became a psychological advantage. Before enemies faced his army, they already knew his story. They knew his victories. They knew his ambition. They knew his determination. The battle often began before the first weapon was raised. Julius Caesar understood another dimension of reputation. He understood the power of narrative. Caesar was not only a military commander, he was also a communicator. He understood that victories must be connected to a story. People needed to understand, who was he? What did he represent? Why should they support him? Through his writings and public image, Caesar shaped how Romans viewed his achievements. He understood something powerful. People do not only remember events, they remember the meaning attached to events. This principle exists in modern leadership as well. A leader's reputation influences employee confidence, public trust, investor decisions, political support. A leader who has built credibility can survive difficult moments because people believe there is good intention behind their actions. But when reputation disappears, even reasonable decisions may be questioned. The same action can be interpreted differently depending on the reputation of the person taking it. Nelson Mandela provides a different example of reputation and power. His influence did not come from wealth or military dominance. It came from moral authority. After spending 27 years in prison during the struggle against apartheid, Mandela emerged with a reputation built around sacrifice, patience, resilience, reconciliation. His power came from the meaning attached to his name. Many leaders are powerful because people fear them. Mandela became powerful because many people respected him. This reveals an important truth. There are different forms of power. Some power comes from control. Some power comes from reputation. Control can force people to obey. Reputation can inspire people to follow. However, history also shows that reputation can be manipulated. A powerful image does not always represent a powerful character. Leaders throughout history have used propaganda, carefully created appearances, controlled information to build reputations that may not reflect reality. This creates an important question. Is a powerful reputation proof of a great person? Not always. A reputation can be manufactured. But eventually, reality tests every reputation. This is why character remains important. A leader can create an image temporarily, but over time, decisions reveal values, actions reveal priorities, and crises reveal character. A crisis is often the moment when reputation meets reality. The greatest leaders understand that reputation is built before the crisis arrives. You cannot suddenly create trust when you need it. Trust must already exist. A soldier trusts a commander because of years of demonstrated leadership. Employees trust a leader because of consistent behavior. Citizens trust leaders because of repeated evidence. Reputation is built in peaceful times and tested in difficult times. There is also a personal lesson here. Every person exercises some form of leadership. You lead your family, your career, your relationships, yourself. The same principles apply. Your reputation determines what responsibilities people are willing to give you. A person known for reliability receives greater opportunities. A person known for excuses receives fewer. A person known for integrity receives trust. The tragedy is that many people think reputation is created when they become successful. The opposite is often true. Success often comes because reputation was built first. People are given opportunities because others already believe they can be trusted. Your reputation becomes the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. The great leaders of history understood one simple truth. A person's greatest possession is not always what they own. It is what their name represents. Because when wealth disappears, when positions change, when power fades, the story attached to the name remains. The question is not only, how powerful are you today? The deeper question is, if your name was mentioned when you were not present, what would people say? Because reputation is the invisible force behind influence, and those who understand it protect it carefully. Chapter 5: Corporate Giants: How Trust Builds Empires and Betrayal Destroys Them. In the world of business, reputation is not an abstract idea. It can be measured. It appears in stock prices, customer loyalty, investor confidence, employee commitment, and ultimately, survival. A company may own factories. It may have technology. It may have talented employees. It may have billions of dollars. But behind all these things is something even more important: trust. Every business relationship begins with an invisible agreement. A customer gives a company money. An investor gives a company capital. An employee gives a company their time and talent. In exchange, they expect something in return, a promise. The customer expects the product will work. The investor expects the company will act responsibly. The employee expects the organization will operate with fairness. A company's reputation is the evidence that this promise can be trusted. This is why companies spend enormous amounts of money building brands. A brand is not just a logo. It is not just advertising. A brand is a memory stored in people's minds. When people see a company name, they immediately associate it with something: quality, reliability, innovation, safety, or sometimes failure, dishonesty, betrayal. The name itself carries meaning. A strong reputation gives a company advantages that competitors cannot easily copy. A trusted company can introduce new products more easily. Customers are more willing to try something new. Investors are more willing to provide support. Employees are more willing to stay. Trust reduces uncertainty. And in business, reducing uncertainty is extremely valuable. But the opposite is also true. When trust disappears, a company faces a crisis deeper than financial loss. It loses the belief that allowed the organization to exist. The most powerful examples of this come from companies that appeared successful on the outside, but were damaged from within. Enron, the empire built on an illusion at the height of its success. Enron was considered one of America's most innovative companies. It was admired for creativity, aggressive growth, new business ideas, and ambitious leadership. The company attracted talented employees. Investors believed in its future. The public saw Enron as a symbol of modern business success. Its reputation was powerful. But beneath the image, serious problems were developing. The company used complex financial methods to hide losses and create the appearance of greater success than reality. The problem was not simply poor performance. Businesses fail every day. The deeper problem was a violation of trust. The company created an image that did not match reality. When the truth emerged, the collapse was dramatic. Investors lost billions. Employees lost jobs and retirement savings. Executives faced criminal consequences. A company once considered a model of innovation became a symbol of corporate failure. The lesson of Enron is powerful. A reputation built on deception is not an asset. It is a delayed collapse. Because eventually, reality catches up with every image. Volkswagen. When trust in engineering was damaged, Volkswagen had spent decades building a reputation around German engineering, quality manufacturing, and reliability. Millions of customers believed they were buying vehicles created with precision and responsibility. Then the emissions scandal emerged. Vehicles had been equipped with software designed to manipulate emissions testing results. The damage was not only financial, it was emotional. Customers felt deceived. The issue was not simply, was the product imperfect? The deeper question became, did the company tell us the truth? This reveals one of the most important principles of reputation. People often forgive mistakes, but they struggle to forgive betrayal. A company that says, we made a mistake may still have the possibility of recovery. A company that says, we misled you faces a much deeper challenge. Johnson & Johnson. When crisis reveals character, not every crisis destroys reputation. Sometimes a crisis reveals the true values of an organization. In 1982, Johnson & Johnson faced a terrifying situation involving Tylenol products that had been tampered with, causing deaths. The company faced a difficult choice: protect profits or protect public trust. The company chose consumer safety. It responded with product recalls, public communication, stronger safety measures. The financial cost was enormous, but the response demonstrated something important. The company was willing to protect people even when it was expensive. Over time, this helped preserve trust. The lesson: a reputation is not only tested when things go well, it is tested when protecting your values becomes costly. The hidden character of organizations. Companies are often treated as machines, but organizations are made of people. Their culture determines their reputation. A company where leaders reward honesty creates trust. A company where leaders reward only results at any cost creates danger. The question inside every organization is, what behavior is rewarded? Because what leaders reward eventually becomes what the organization becomes. Many corporate scandals do not begin with one dramatic decision. They begin with small compromises. A manager ignores a warning. An employee hides a problem. A leader refuses to hear criticism. Company chooses appearance over reality. Over time, small decisions create a culture, and culture eventually creates reputation. The CEO and the face of the company. Modern companies are often connected to their leaders. A CEO represents more than management. They represent values, vision, trust. A respected leader can strengthen an organization. A leader who loses credibility can damage the entire company. This is why businesses carefully protect leadership reputation. Can a company recover? Yes, but recovery requires more than marketing. A company cannot simply announce, we have changed. People look for evidence. Recovery requires, first, honesty, admitting what happened. Second, accountability, Accepting responsibility. Third, structural change, fixing the systems that allowed the problem. Fourth, time, because trust cannot be demanded, it must be earned again. The greatest companies understand something fundamental. Their most valuable asset is not always their product. It is the relationship they have with society. Products can be copied. Technology can be improved. Competitors can appear. But trust is difficult to replace. A company can survive competition. It can survive economic challenges. It can survive mistakes. But surviving betrayal is much harder. Because business is ultimately built on a simple human question. Do I believe this organization deserves my trust? The rise and fall of companies teaches us a timeless lesson. A reputation is built slowly through thousands of decisions, but it can be damaged quickly when words and actions separate. Because in the end, a company's name is more than a name. It is a promise. And when that promise is broken, the entire foundation begins to shake. Chapter 6: Fame and Illusion. When image becomes reality, few things demonstrate the power of reputation more clearly than fame. In business, people trust a company. In politics, people trust a leader. But in entertainment, people often trust a person. A face, a voice, a personality, a story. This makes fame one of the most powerful and fragile forms of reputation in the modern world. Because a celebrity does not only sell a product, they sell themselves. An ordinary person may be known by hundreds of people. A famous person may be known by millions. But there is a strange contradiction in fame. The more people know your name, the less control you may have over what that name means. A celebrity's reputation exists inside the minds of millions of strangers. Every person creates their own interpretation. Some see inspiration, some see talent, some see success, some see disappointment. The same person can represent completely different things to different people. The creation of a celebrity image fame does not appear overnight. It is carefully built. It is created through talent, hard work, public appearances, interviews, performances, relationships, and stories. But talent alone does not create lasting fame. A person must also create meaning. People do not only follow what celebrities do, they follow what celebrities represent. An athlete may represent determination. A musician may represent freedom. An actor may represent courage. A public figure may represent hope. The audience creates an emotional connection, and that emotional connection becomes part of the person's reputation. The celebrity as a brand in the modern world. Celebrities function like companies. Their name becomes a brand. That name can create movie opportunities, sponsorships, partnerships, influence. A company may spend decades building a brand. A celebrity spends years building a personal brand. The difference is, a company can separate itself from a product. A celebrity's identity is the product. This creates enormous pressure, because when a company faces criticism, it can change management, it can redesign products, it can create new strategies. But when a person faces a reputation crisis, the criticism is attached to their identity. Their name becomes the battlefield. Carl Jung and the Public Mask, the psychologist. Carl Jung explored an important idea called the persona. The persona is the social mass people present to the world. Every person has one. We behave differently, at work, with family, among friends, in public. This is normal. Human beings adapt to different environments. But fame creates a unique challenge. The public persona can become so powerful that it begins to dominate the real person. A famous person may become trapped by expectations. The world expects them to always be successful, confident, beautiful, inspiring, perfect. But no human being can permanently live as an ideal image. Behind every public figure is a private person with weaknesses, struggles, mistakes, and contradictions. The danger of creating heroes. Human beings naturally create heroes. We look for people who represent qualities we admire. This is not new. Ancient societies had heroes. Modern societies have athletes, actors, musicians, entrepreneurs. The problem begins when we forget that heroes are still human. We take one area of excellence and assume excellence everywhere. A talented artist may not be a perfect person. A successful athlete may not have perfect judgment. A wealthy entrepreneur may not have perfect character. Achievement and morality are different things. Why famous people fall so hard. When a famous person makes a mistake, the reaction is often stronger than when an ordinary person makes the same mistake. Why? Because the public relationship is emotional. Fans often feel, I supported this person. I believed in this person. I admired this person. The disappointment feels personal. The audience feels that something they valued has been damaged. The fall from grace. Many reputation collapses follow a similar pattern. First, the person rises. Talent creates admiration. Second, the public creates an ideal image. The person becomes a symbol. Third, a controversy challenges that image. People begin asking questions. Fourth, the public reinterprets the past. Old events are viewed differently. Fifth, the reputation either collapses or begins the difficult process of recovery. The power of media plays a major role in shaping celebrity reputation. Media does not only report stories, it influences which stories become important. A positive achievement may receive attention for a short time. A controversy may dominate public discussion for months. Why? Because humans are naturally attracted to conflict, drama, unexpected events. Social media has intensified this reality. Today, every person with a phone can participate in reputation creation. A moment can be recorded, a statement can spread, an opinion can become a global conversation. The speed of reputation change has increased dramatically. The audience creates the rise and the fall. It is easy to blame celebrities when reputation collapses. But audiences also play a role. Society creates unrealistic expectations. We demand perfection from people who were never perfect. We build individuals into symbols. Then we become disappointed when they reveal their humanity. This creates an important question. Do we admire people for who they really are, or do we admire the version of them we created in our minds? Fame and responsibility. Fame brings influence, and influence creates responsibility. A famous person can affect how people think, what people buy, what people believe is possible. This is why reputation matters so much. The greater the influence, the greater the consequences of losing trust. But reputation recovery is possible. Some public figures rebuild after failure, not because people forget what happened, but because over time, new evidence changes the story. Consistent behavior can rebuild trust. A person's future actions can become stronger than their past mistakes. The deepest lesson of fame is this: a person should never confuse popularity with character. Millions of people knowing your name does not automatically mean millions of people know you. Fame measures attention. Reputation measures trust, and trust is much harder to earn, because every famous person eventually faces the same challenge. When the image disappears, when the applause becomes quiet, when the audience is no longer watching, who remains? The strongest reputation is not created by convincing the world that you are extraordinary. It is created by becoming someone whose actions continue to deserve respect. Chapter 7: Heroes Who Fell. Sports, role models, and the burden of greatness. Throughout history, human beings have searched for heroes, people who represent something greater than themselves. Courage, discipline, determination, excellence. In ancient times, societies created legends about warriors and kings. Today, many of our heroes are found on playing fields. Athletes, people who transform physical ability into extraordinary achievement. But sports reveal a powerful truth about reputation. The higher a person rises, the greater the expectations placed upon them. A champion is not only judged by what they achieve, they are judged by what they represent. Why athletes become more than athletes. A sporting victory is rarely only about winning. It becomes a story. A young athlete overcoming poverty becomes a symbol of hope. A player returning from injury becomes a symbol of resilience. A champion defeating impossible odds becomes a symbol of human potential. People connect their own dreams to these stories. The athlete becomes a reflection of what people want to believe is possible. But this creates a challenge. The public does not only expect athletes to perform, it expects them to represent values. Fans often believe a disciplined athlete must be disciplined everywhere. A successful athlete must have perfect judgment. A winner must also be a perfect person. But human beings are more complicated than symbols. Performance reputation versus character reputation. An athlete has two reputations. The first is built through performance. It comes from records, victories, statistics, achievements. The second is built through character. It comes from honesty, responsibility, behavior, decisions away from competition. These two reputations can strengthen each other, but they can also conflict. A person can achieve greatness in one area while struggling in another. The psychology of hero worship. Why do people create heroes? Because heroes provide meaning. They show us what dedication looks like, what sacrifice looks like, what achievement looks like. But hero worship has a hidden danger. We sometimes stop seeing the person. We only see the symbol. The athlete becomes an idea, and when reality challenges the idea, disappointment can be enormous. Case study: Lance Armstrong. When a story collapses, few stories demonstrate the power of reputation better than Lance Armstrong. Before controversy surrounded his career, Armstrong represented one of the most powerful narratives in sports history. He was not simply a cyclist, he was a symbol. His story involved overcoming cancer and returning to achieve extraordinary success in professional cycling. Millions of people saw him as proof that determination could overcome impossible circumstances. His reputation represented courage, hope, human resilience. But later, investigations into doping allegations transformed the public perception of his career. He was stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles and received a lifetime ban from competitive cycling. The damage was not only about lost victories. The deeper damage was to the meaning of the story. The question changed from, how did he achieve this, to was the achievement built on truth? This reveals a fundamental principle of reputation. People do not only value results, they value the story behind the results. When the foundation of the story changes, the entire reputation changes. Case study: Tiger Woods. The challenge of recovery. Tiger Woods represents another side of reputation. For years, he was considered one of the greatest golfers in history. His reputation was built around discipline, focus, excellence, professionalism. He represented perfection in sport. His image became connected not only to golf, but to a larger story of success. When revelations about his personal life became public in 2009, the damage extended beyond his personal circumstances. The public image that had been created was damaged. Sponsors reacted. Public perception changed. The person many people thought they knew was suddenly questioned. But Woods' story also demonstrates another important principle. A damaged reputation does not always mean permanent destruction. Over time, through returning to competition and continuing his career, parts of his public image were rebuilt. The process was not immediate. It required time, consistent action, and new evidence. The difference between failure and betrayal. This is one of the most important lessons from sports. People understand failure. An athlete can lose. A team can make mistakes. A competitor can have a bad day. Failure is part of human performance. But betrayal is different. When fans believe the competition itself was unfair, the relationship changes. The issue becomes trust. Sport depends on a social agreement. The winner earned victory honestly. When that belief disappears, the meaning of achievement is affected. The pressure of being a role model. Many athletes never asked to become symbols. But success creates influence. Children watch them. Companies associate with them. Communities celebrate them. With influence comes expectation. A famous athlete may say, "I am only an athlete." But society often responds, "Your actions influence millions." This creates a difficult balance. Should society expect public figures to behave better? Yes, because influence carries responsibility. Should society remember that they are human? Also yes. The challenge is finding the balance between accountability and understanding. Reputation recovery in sports. When an athlete loses trust, recovery requires more than saying, "I have changed." People look for evidence. They look for humility, responsibility, consistent behavior, time. The strongest comeback stories are not created through public relations. They are created through actions repeated over time. The deeper lesson: sports teach us something important about reputation. Achievement can make a person famous, but character determines whether the respect lasts. A trophy can prove ability. It cannot automatically prove integrity. A record can show performance. It cannot reveal the entire person. The greatest athletes are not remembered only because they won. They are remembered because their names became connected to something meaningful. Courage, respect, fairness, inspiration. Because in the end, every hero faces the same question. When the competition ends, when the applause fades, when the crowd goes home, what remains? The achievements, the controversies, or the character behind the name? A true legacy is not built only by being the best at what you do. It is built by becoming someone whose name continues to represent something valuable long after the final game is over. Chapter 8: The Court of Public Opinion. Truth, accusations, and the battle between justice and perception. Throughout human history, societies have searched for ways to determine truth. They created courts. They created laws. They created systems of evidence. Because humans understood something important. A person's reputation can be destroyed faster than the truth can be discovered. Today, however, the world has created another court. A court without judges, a court without formal rules, a court that operates every day through millions of conversations, the court of public opinion. In this court, people are judged through news reports, social media posts, public statements, rumors, and personal interpretations. Sometimes this court helps society hold powerful people accountable. Sometimes it exposes problems that would otherwise remain hidden. But sometimes it can also punish people before facts are fully understood. This creates one of the most difficult questions of the modern age. How do we protect people from wrongdoing while also protecting fairness and truth? The difference between accusation and proof. An accusation is a claim that something happened. Proof is evidence that establishes what happened. These two things are not the same. A healthy society must be able to hold two ideas at the same time. People who experience harm deserve to be heard. People who are accused deserve fairness. Both principles matter. Throughout history, societies have learned the danger of rushing to judgment. Fear and emotion can influence human decisions. When people are afraid or angry, they may desire immediate punishment. But justice requires patience, because the consequences of being wrong can be enormous. A reputation can be damaged before a complete investigation takes place. A person may lose employment, business opportunities, relationships, public trust. Even if later information changes the understanding of the situation, the original damage may remain. This is one of the unique challenges of reputation. The world often remembers the first story. Why accusations are so powerful. An accusation creates uncertainty. Before an accusation, people have a stable image of someone. After an accusation, that image becomes questioned. The mind begins asking, what if it is true? This question alone can change perception. Human beings are naturally cautious when trust becomes uncertain. This connects to the psychology we discussed earlier. Humans are sensitive to possible threats. A positive story creates admiration. A negative story creates attention. A possible danger receives more mental focus than ordinary success. The role of media plays a powerful role in reputation. It does not only communicate information. It influences what society focuses on. Some stories receive enormous attention because they contain conflict, emotion, famous people, moral questions. Other stories receive little attention despite being equally important. The way a story is presented can also influence perception. The same event can be described through different perspectives. One person may be portrayed as a victim, another as suspect, a hero, another as a failure. The language surrounding an event influences how people interpret it. Social media and instant judgment. The internet has transformed reputation. In the past, information moved slowly. Today, information travels instantly. A single post can reach millions. A single video can change public perception. A single statement can become a worldwide discussion. This has created a new reality. Everyone can participate in reputation creation. Everyone can become a judge. Everyone can become a commentator. But speed creates danger. Human beings often react emotionally before they investigate carefully. A person may form an opinion based on a headline without knowing the complete story. A crowd may reach a conclusion before evidence is examined. The desire for immediate judgment can sometimes overpower the search for truth. The problem of trial by internet. Traditional justice systems were created because societies understood human judgment could be imperfect. They created procedures. Evidence must be examined, witnesses must be questioned, arguments must be considered. Online judgment often has none of these protections. The loudest voices may dominate. The most emotional arguments may spread the fastest. The most controversial interpretation may receive the most attention. The danger of false accusations. A balanced society must also recognize another reality. False accusations can cause serious harm. They can destroy careers, relationships, mental well-being, and public trust. This does not mean accusations should be ignored. It means every accusation must be approached with seriousness and fairness. Historical example. The McCarthy era. A powerful example of reputation destruction occurred during the era of Senator Joseph McCarthy in the United States. During the Cold War, accusations of communist association could damage careers and reputations. Many people were publicly accused and investigated. The fear of communism created an environment where suspicion sometimes moved faster than evidence. The lesson was important. When fear becomes stronger than reason, reputation can become a weapon. Accountability and redemption. A mature society faces another challenge. What happens after a person makes a mistake? Should a person's worst moment define their entire life, or should people have the possibility of change? This is where accountability and forgiveness meet. Accountability says, actions have consequences. Forgiveness says, people are capable of transformation. A balanced society needs both. Viktor Frankl and human dignity. Viktor Frankl's work provides an important perspective. He experienced a world where people were stripped of freedom, status, possessions, and identity. Yet he argued that human beings still possess an inner dignity. External circumstances can affect how others see us, but they do not completely determine our inner value. The question of who owns your reputation, this brings us to a deeper philosophical question. Who controls your reputation? The answer is complicated. You influence it through your actions, but other people interpret those actions. Your reputation exists between what you do and what people believe about what you do. The wisest approach is not to live only for public approval, because public opinion changes. The same crowd that celebrates someone today may criticize them tomorrow. Instead, build something stronger, a pattern of behavior that can survive examination. Because when the noise disappears, when emotions settle, when history has time to examine events, what remains is evidence. Evidence of actions, evidence of character, evidence of truth. The court of public opinion is powerful, but it is not always perfect. The challenge of civilization is learning how to pursue justice without abandoning fairness, how to demand accountability without destroying truth, how to protect victims without abandoning reason, and how to remember that behind every reputation is a human being. Chapter 9: The Art of Rebuilding. Can a broken reputation return? A reputation can take decades to build. It can be damaged in a moment. But one of the greatest questions in human life is this: after everything falls apart, can trust return? Can a person who has failed become respected again? Can a company that has lost public confidence rebuild? Can a name once associated with disappointment become associated with something meaningful again? The answer is complicated, because reputation is not repaired through words alone. It is repaired through evidence. The difference between defending an image and changing reality. When reputation is damaged, many people make the same mistake. They focus on protecting the image. They focus on controlling the news, changing public perception, creating explanations, avoiding responsibility. But reputation is not ultimately rebuilt through appearances. It is rebuilt through reality. Because people eventually discover the difference between a performance and genuine change. A person can say, I have changed. A company can say, we have learned our lesson. A leader can say, we are different now. But the question people ask is, where is the evidence? Trust is rebuilt slowly. Trust is not restored by one great moment. It is restored through many small moments repeated consistently. A person who was unreliable does not become trusted because of one promise. They become trusted because they keep promises repeatedly. A company that lost customer confidence does not recover because of one advertisement. It recovers because customers repeatedly experience better behavior. This is why reputation recovery requires time. People need to see a pattern. They need evidence that the change is real. The 4 foundations of reputation recovery. 1. Acknowledgement. The first step is accepting reality. A person cannot repair a problem they refuse to recognize. Denial creates deeper distrust. When someone refuses to accept obvious problems, people often conclude they are not willing to change. 2. Responsibility. Acknowledgement says, this happened. Responsibility says, I understand my role in what happened. This distinction matters. People are often more willing to forgive mistakes than they are to forgive excuses. 3. Corrective action. Real change requires action. A company cannot rebuild trust while keeping the same systems that created the failure. A leader cannot rebuild credibility while repeating the same behavior. Words explain intentions. Actions reveal transformation. 4. Consistency over time. The final test is time. Anyone can behave differently for a short period. The question is, has the change become part of who they are? Character is revealed through patterns. Case study. Johnson & Johnson, protecting trust. During crisis, the Tylenol crisis remains one of the most studied examples of reputation management. When product tampering caused deaths, Johnson & Johnson faced a difficult choice. The company could have focused only on protecting financial interests. Instead, it prioritized consumer safety. It recalled products. It communicated openly. It changed packaging to improve safety. The company understood something important. A company does not exist only to make products. It exists because society trusts it. By protecting customers first, the company protected its long-term reputation. The lesson: sometimes the best way to protect a reputation is to sacrifice short-term gains to preserve long-term trust. Case study: Steve Jobs. Failure as part of a larger story. Steve Jobs provides an interesting example of professional reputation recovery. Before his return to Apple, Jobs experienced major setbacks. He was removed from the company he helped create. For many people, this could have become the defining story of his career. But his later work changed the narrative. Through innovation and leadership, he became associated with creativity and technological transformation. The lesson is not that failure does not matter. Failure matters. But a person's future actions can influence how history interprets their past. Case study: Tiger Woods. Reputation beyond a single moment. Tiger Woods' reputation suffered after personal controversies damaged the image many people had of him. But his later career demonstrated another principle: recovery is not immediate. It requires time, discipline, continued effort. A reputation crisis cannot always be solved with one explanation. It requires rebuilding the relationship with the public. The psychology of forgiveness. Why do people forgive? Because human societies need the possibility of change. If no one could recover from failure, society would become a place where people are permanently trapped by their worst moments. But forgiveness does not mean pretending nothing happened. True forgiveness requires recognition, responsibility, and evidence of transformation. The difference between redemption and reputation management. Modern society has created an important distinction. Some people seek redemption. Others seek only reputation management. Reputation management asks, how can I make people see me differently? Redemption asks, how can I become different? One focuses on perception, the other focuses on transformation. Nassim Taleb and anti-fragility. Nassim Nicholas Taleb introduced the idea of anti-fragility. Some things do not simply survive difficulty. They become stronger because of difficulty. A reputation crisis can sometimes create a stronger person or organization, but only if the crisis produces learning. Pain alone does not create growth. Reflection and change create growth. The three responses to reputation failure. When people face a damaged reputation, they usually choose one of three paths. The denier: they reject responsibility. They blame others. They refuse to examine themselves. This usually prevents recovery. The performer: they say the right words. They create the appearance of change. But the behavior remains the same. Eventually people notice. The transformer: they accept reality. They learn. They change. They demonstrate the change consistently. This is the path that creates genuine recovery. The greatest test of character success often hides weaknesses. People can appear strong when everything is going well, but crisis reveals who someone truly is. The important question is not, did this person fail? Because everyone fails. The important question is, what did they become after failure? A reputation crisis can destroy a person, but it can also become the moment when a person develops greater humility, wisdom, and responsibility. Because the strongest reputations are not built by people who never make mistakes. They are built by people who respond to mistakes with honesty and transformation. In the end, the world does not only remember that someone fell, it remembers whether they had the courage to rise differently. Chapter 10: Your name is your legacy. Every human being leaves something behind. Some leave behind wealth. Some leave behind achievements. Some leave behind inventions. Some leave behind memories. But beyond everything a person owns, there is something even more powerful: a name. Not simply the words people use to identify you, but the meaning attached to those words, because every name carries a story. When people hear the name of a person they know, they do not only think about the individual, they remember experiences, they remember actions, they remember how that person made them feel. They remember whether that person could be trusted, whether that person kept promises, whether that person showed kindness, whether that person acted with integrity. A name becomes a summary of a life. This is why reputation matters even for people who are not famous. You do not need millions of followers to have a reputation. You do not need to appear in history books to leave an impact. Every person builds a reputation among the people around them. A parent has a reputation among their children. A friend has a reputation among their friends. A worker has a reputation among colleagues. A leader has a reputation among those they influence. The mistake many people make is believing reputation is created only by major moments. They believe their name will be defined by one great achievement. But reputation is usually built quietly, through ordinary actions repeated over time. The promise you keep, the responsibility you accept, the way you treat people who cannot benefit you, the way you behave when nobody is watching. These small decisions become the foundation of your name. Aristotle understood this thousands of years ago. Character is not created by one action. It is created by habits. A person's life becomes a collection of repeated choices. Those choices become character. Character creates reputation, and reputation becomes legacy. This is why people who chase only reputation often fail. They focus on appearing successful rather than becoming valuable. They focus on being admired rather than being trustworthy. They focus on controlling the image rather than improving the person. But eventually, reality exposes the difference. A powerful image cannot permanently replace strong character. The modern world has made this challenge even greater. Social media allows people to create carefully edited versions of themselves. People display success, happiness, achievement, confidence. But behind every public image is a real human being, a person with struggles, a person with weaknesses, a person still becoming who they want to be. The goal is not to create a perfect image, because perfection is impossible. The goal is to create alignment, where the person you are privately matches the person people experience publicly, where your actions support your words, where your values remain consistent even when circumstances change. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius understood this principle. He lived as one of the most powerful people in the world. He had authority, he had wealth, he had status. But his writings repeatedly returned to a simple idea. Your true character is revealed by how you act, not by what people say about you, not by what titles you hold, not by what possessions you collect, but by the quality of your choices. History remembers people differently. Some people had enormous wealth but left little meaningful legacy. Others had limited resources but changed countless lives. Because legacy is not measured only by what you acquire. It is measured by what you contribute. Will Durant, the historian, studied the rise and fall of civilizations. One lesson from history is that everything external changes. Empires disappear. Leaders are replaced. Fortunes rise and fall. But ideas, values, and contributions can survive generations. A person's greatest achievement may not be what they possessed. It may be what they gave. This brings us to an important distinction. There is a difference between fame and legacy. Fame asks, how many people know your name? Legacy asks, what does your name represent? A person can become famous through controversy. A person can become famous through wealth. A person can become famous through attention. But a meaningful legacy requires something deeper. It requires value. The strongest reputations are built by people who understand responsibility. They know every action communicates something. Every decision teaches others what they stand for. Every interaction leaves evidence. They understand that their name is not only theirs. It is connected to everyone they influence. A person's reputation is also a gift to future generations. A good name can open doors for others. It can create trust before a conversation begins. It can become a foundation that children and communities inherit. This is why many cultures throughout history placed great importance on honoring the family name. They understood a person's actions can affect those who come after them. But protecting your name does not mean living in fear of criticism. Even great people were criticized, leaders were attacked, inventors were doubted, visionaries were misunderstood. A strong reputation does not mean everyone approves of you. It means your actions remain worthy even when opinions change. The final test of reputation is simple. If your name was mentioned when you were not present, what story would people tell? Would they say, This person could be trusted. This person kept their word. This person helped others. This person stood for something. Or would they say, this person only cared about themselves. This person could not be trusted. This person chose appearance over character. Because every person is writing a story. Every decision is a sentence. Every habit is a paragraph. Every year becomes another chapter. And eventually, the world reads the book created by your choices. Your reputation is not built in one day. It is built every day. It is built when nobody is watching. It is built when doing the right thing is inconvenient. It is built when you choose integrity over advantage. In the end, wealth can be lost. Positions can disappear. Fame can fade. But a meaningful name can survive. Because the greatest possession a person can leave behind is not what they own. It is what they represented. Your name is your legacy. Protect it, build it, guide it with your life. Because long after people forget what you had, they will remember who you were.